You can. Okay, good. That'll be especially important today. All right, then we can get going. So first of all, greetings to all Dharma friends, wherever you are. Geshe hopes that all is going well, that you are well and happy, and that all is going well with your study and practice. So we are gathered together today. The first thing to keep in mind is the past is the past. Whatever we have done in the past, that's in the past. But in terms of the future, what we want to ensure is that in the future, we are able to improve and to increase our study and practice of the teachings. So we can also understand that in terms of the activities that we have engaged in, right, this continuum of rebirths, it is beginningless. So in our countless previous rebirths in samsara until now, we have engaged in what is wholesome and we have engaged in what is unwholesome. Hello? Sorry, can we mute everybody? Sorry, not to be rude. Okay, thanks. I'm just going to say that again because folks might have missed it. So in terms of our countless previous rebirths, lifetimes within samsara until the present, because they are countless, we have engaged in countless wholesome things as well as we have engaged in countless unwholesome things. So all of the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, though, they instruct us that in terms of the past, whatever mistakes were made in the past, that we can do a new start now. In fact, we can purify our negative karma. We can develop our positive mental qualities. And then those mistakes of the past, they will be like the clouds, which with a breeze are slowly parted from the fully shining sun. Sorry, Shajupa sana? Ale, das So, there's many stories, of course, from the Buddha's life, from the time when the Buddha was in the world, including stories of disciples of his, which in sort of their previous instances in their lives had killed even hundreds of sentient beings, right? But they were able to change. They were able to practice. And regardless of what our past lifetimes were, there's one thing to hold on to as a source of inspiration, which is that we have, with the human life in our palm right now, the very best opportunity to accumulate virtuous, positive karma. And this human rebirth that we have right now also, this is a result that doesn't come just from one instance of virtue as a cause, right? This precious human rebirth that we have right now, it comes from a great accumulation of virtue or merit. So important to remember that as well. So the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, they give the advice that if you were to imagine the entire surface of this earth covered with wish-fulfilling jewels, and you were to compare that to the value of just one precious human rebirth, the value of that precious human rebirth would far exceed the value of all of those jewels. And when we say precious human rebirth, what do we mean? Of course, very good to be familiar. This is a precious human rebirth which is endowed with the 8 freedoms and the 10 richnesses. So we have this human rebirth that we have achieved, and then we can definitely achieve great things with it if we apply ourselves. So this is important to remember, important to recognize this good fortune. And this is a means of bringing forth a courageous attitude, right? A brave attitude in our practice. And if we look at the reasonings behind it, it's also not just kind of empty fluff without substance, right? These are encouraging words based on truth. So today the plan is that what we're going to do is we are going to recite, Dave will help you. There is a practice that is known in Tibetan as the 3rd lineage, or the 3 continuous practices, the Gunchak Sumpa. So in terms of where that is in our FPMT prayer book, that's listed as the prayers at the beginning of the teachings, starting with the praise to Shakyamuni Buddha, and then going down to the bottom of page 8. So that is the plan. So we will recite all of those prayers to begin our activities today. And so it's called the 3rd lineage, or the 3rd continuous practices. In Tibetan, the word is gyunchak. So gyunchak is like a continuum, right? Sorry, gyunsena? Yeah. So like a stream, something that is continuously flowing, something that is continuously flowing. And in fact, in terms of daily recitations that you do, this should be one of the main ones that you do, actually. It's very important. And so then within this word gyunchak, so we've established that this is like a continuum or a flow. You could also think of it as a lineage. And then sumpa, sum is the Tibetan word for 3. And so then the question arises, 3 what? There are different ways of presenting these 3. So Geshe is going to give you one of them. Yeah. So the first one is offering prostration, specifically offering prostration or homage to the fundamental teacher, to Shakyamuni Buddha. And the second one, in order to clarify how to practice through qualified words, the second of the 3 is the recitation of sutras. The recitation of sutras. Right. And so this, one of you will remember one of the very famous verses connected with the 3 higher trainings, which is, commit not one single unwholesome deed, engage only in virtue, subdue your own mind. This is the teaching of the Buddha. So that's one of the famous verses from this text. Yeah. So engage in not one misdeed whatsoever. This is an exhortation. This is an exhortation to engage fully in the 3 higher trainings of ethics, concentration, and wisdom. So prostration, reciting of sutras, and then the third one is the dedication of the merit. Yeah. And so that merit is dedicated to all sentient beings and to enlightenment for all. So then if we turn to the important verse, so you'll find this on page 7 in the FPMT prayer book. I see there's a lot of chatter in the comments about where do I find this? Where do I find this? So I can give you a tip. If you go into Google and you search FPMT prayers for teaching occasions, FPMT prayers for teaching occasions, you'll find that for folks at home. So then in terms of this verse, I'll just read it out on page 7. Do not commit any unwholesome actions, engage in perfect wholesome actions, subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. So Geshe says, engage in perfect wholesome actions. What does that mean?
다 개와 시도 개와간가 여보도 들어와. 이나니까 안돼 퍼서 추바세 차위요.
So, of course, all wholesome actions are good, all virtues are positive, but they are not all perfect. So, what does perfect mean?
다 소소 지보게 제다. 소소가 다 니에게 다 천디게 니에게 제다. 뭐 관계 제다. 개와 들어봐 이나요 다 여보도 들어와. 이나요 단다 퍼서 추바 차위요.
So let's take an example. If you do a virtuous action only for your own benefit, or if you do the virtuous action only for those close to you, or if you do the virtuous action maybe only for human beings, for example, that is a limited sphere of the virtuous action. So that wholesome action does not become perfect.
다 개와 간데 개와 퍼서 추바세 돼. 제 몰류도 리바 제 뭐뭐 그도니 로와 리주 센제 요주 다 보게 자 침보 쯤을 다 디체다. 개와 돼야지 다 개와 퍼서 추바세.
So then what do we mean by a perfect wholesome action? A perfect wholesome action takes in its sphere all these 6 different types of sentient beings without exception, and then for their sake engages in the virtuous action. That's what makes the wholesome action perfect.
다 대표게 땜보지 용하셔봐라 뒤에ኛ라 사주도 마시는 다 세피 할레비 비다보 좀마지 그거야 이자 디빠째 용무샤시 서터 야슈데.
So, in order to bring forth a motivation like that for the virtue, we need to first make sure that our mind is kind of purified and stabilized. And so that is why we have preceding that line, the line that says, do not commit any unwholesome actions. And we can understand that the line saying, do not commit any unwholesome actions, this is the higher training in ethical conduct.
다 던지고 세소마 누지 생제 요주가 다 덕분에 짜 침보 쯤에 개와 전에 컨트롤 대시 저기 그거요나 타마 롱게세는 용선도 세하데 돈이도 싫어하게 돈에 다 좀마 차서서 그거.
So we've established, right, from the second verse, this wish to engage in perfect wholesome actions, which ultimately is to bring all 6 types of sentient beings to the state of complete freedom. But before we are able to do that effectively, we need to achieve that freedom ourselves. And this takes us to the last line in the verse, the second last line in the verse, which says, subdue your mind thoroughly. We can understand that subdue your mind thoroughly is pointing us to the wisdom realizing emptiness. That's what is required to subdue our mind.
다 못했어요. 다 들이 다 개와 퍼서 추바지 저기. 손주세비 동바 연애 여보치 저기 손주세비 동바 다 퍼서 추바서는 말 들이 질레기 디체트 다 손지 쪼된데네 자와시도 지바 다 동보
So then a little bit of a kind of a longer introduction, but anyway, just to come back. So sorry. Totally forgot what Geshe said. So we want to be able to perfectly accumulate virtue, we want to be able to practice bodhicitta and the bodhisattva path well. And in order to be able to do that, we want to receive the bodhisattva vows or trainings. And so to do that, we imagine as we recite that we invite the Buddha surrounded by his children, all of the Buddhas and bodhisattvas, to the space in front of us. So just bring your body and mind into a peaceful state to prepare for the visualization. So think that for us to be able to accomplish what we wish for the benefit of all sentient beings, as a support, we invite the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas from wherever in the universe they may be dwelling to abide in the space in front of us. So we can also imagine that as we gaze up to these invited guests, that together with us are all 6 types of sentient beings, but in human form, beginning with our father and mother to either side of us. And all of these sentient beings are gazing up towards these objects of refuge with minds of faith and wisdom. So then, in order to be able to accomplish all of their purposes, the purposes of all of these sentient beings, we will train in stages as indicated. So just want to adjust our sound for a moment. Sorry.
Kedripa, since you're adjusting things, can you move the camera down slightly?
The
we don't see your
problem
head.
is that if that happens, you're going to see the back of a whole bunch of people's heads.
Okay.
I don't know, like, what do people prefer? We're actually a full house today. You can't tell because of how I've positioned the camera.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Seeing the top of your head is better than nothing.
Let me see what I can do. Let me see if there's a middle way. Hold on a sec.
You may be able to make more space if we move some of these chairs and I scooch over and perhaps.
Let me just see how far I can get it down, Josh. That might not be necessary. Let me see how far I can get it down without.
Still good.
That's great.
Will that be better? Okay,
Yep.
Dave. Sorry about that. It was possible.
That's great.
It's kind of hard to get the level just right. How's that? Is that better?
Much better.
Okay. Was it you were just seeing my nose or something like that?
I can see your chin.
Mhm.
So could have been worse.
I'm not exactly Brad Pitt, so maybe that's not a problem. Hold on. Let me just check the audio settings here. Okay, I put the musician sounds on. Okay, we are good to go. Yep, so we'll begin with the recitation. So we start on prayers of the beginning of teachings. Excuse me. Tumbo chom den de jin she ba ja chom ba yan da ba zo be sang ge ba dang shab su dem ba de wa she ba je den kem ba ke bu du we kalo gyurwa la na me ba la da mi nam gi tem ba song ge chom den de pe ja wa sha gyo tu ba la cha se lo che de kyav su chi ho Tenpa chomden de deshin cheba drachompa yandapa zobe sangye riba dang shapsu denpa dewa shepa shiten kempa chebu duwe kalo jorwa lana meba ladami namgi tenpa sangye chomden de pe jawa shakya tuba la chase lo chede kyabsu chi ho tenpa chomden de deshin cheba drachompa yang daba zobe sangye riba dang shapsu denpa dewa shepa shiten chenpa chebu duwe kalo jorwa lana meba ladami namgi tenpa sangye chomden de pe jawa shakya tuba la chase lo chede kyabsu chi ho Ganse gani zo gedanse sachen di la gomba dumbo ne ngani jiten dina choje sun detse keba kela cha zalo nanda kunga chodu suzanga yeshe jamso segi lombo ja raba jiten sumna la mewa gombo chenye kela cha zalo sencho denpa jime dawe je sejo jawa kela cha Salo, Tije Keja Siba Sumachi, Nyame Kenchen Kela Cha Salo, Kombo Tije Chedemba, Tamje Kempe Temba Po, Senam Yenden Jazo Jin, Dejin Chela Cha Salo, Dabe De Cha Jewa Gyur, Kewe Ngenzong Le Je Jing, Shikde Dendam Chojo Pa, Shikyo Chela Cha Salo, Jene Jawe Lam Yang Laba dala rabdune shingi damba yunden den genden la yang cha zalo deba ji yang mi cha jin gewa bunsun zo ba je rangi semni yang su du dini sangi tempa yin kamarare mame dang gyuma zilpa chubu da mi dang lo dang jin tabu dije chenan di data senan di tamje ziba yi goban tene kengi jatu de kada nadan jiwe la jebe sibe tsele jowa jowa sho mandero. So we'll do the mandala. So that is on page 27. So ji pegi joji medo ja rija linji nidi gyamba di sange jindo mede buwagi joku nanda jin la jeba sho idam guru ratna mendala ka niryatayami. Sogi chönam la jangchu bardu dani gyabsu ji dagi chenyen gibe sonam gi jola penji sangi jopa sho Chedan sogi chönam la jangchu bardu dani gyabsu ji dagi chenyen gibe sonam gi jola penji sangi jopa sho Chedan sogi chenam la jangcho bardu dani gyabsu chi dagi chenyen gibe senam gi jola penjir sange jobar sho.
Wanya ta ke chamo ma tu nganzo te ta no wa yu pa kaya la shandro ya pu shandro ya shu te lo member pa kanga pa kaya te la ta se shi tu de ku ga de.
So then, of course, in terms of what we just recited there at the very end, the refuge and bodhicitta, the practice of refuge is what allows us to set aside incorrect paths in favor of a correct path. And the verse about mind generation or bodhicitta is what allows us to set aside a limited path in favor of a vast path.
Ta ten ya po ta chang se le ya po cha ya ge ta nganzo li se shwa ka se ta le le shu.
And so in order to be able to bring that about well as a sort of first step, we are going to put our body and mind into a calm state of peace. Think the body is well and at ease, the mind is relaxed and peaceful. And then we should think that beginning with Shakyamuni Buddha, including all of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, all of them are appearing in the place slightly above and in front of us. So think that if I think of myself in terms of unwholesome karmas I've accumulated, then I need some protection, some refuge, so that I don't fall into the lower states of existence. And so what can provide that refuge is these beings in front of me. Those who can truly protect me from those negative outcomes are the Buddhas and their children, the Bodhisattvas. Therefore, single-pointedly with faith, I go to them for refuge. Not just that, not only do I need the protection from falling into those negative states, but actually I need a source of refuge that can lead me to complete freedom, liberation from samsara or cyclic existence. These beings in front of me are able to do that. So even that, however, is not enough. Even if I achieve liberation for myself, there are still all of those sentient beings left behind, facing the danger of the unfortunate realms in particular and samsara in general. I need to be able to help them as well. Who is going to provide refuge and enable me to come to a state where I can help? It is these Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, these holy beings, worthy objects of refuge. So think that from now until my enlightenment, I shall always go for refuge to the three jewels: the teacher, the Buddha, the actual refuge, the Dharma, and the friends who help along the path, the Sangha. Think, in order to be able to lead all sentient beings to complete Buddhahood, Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, I myself must achieve a complete Buddhahood. And in order to do this, I need to bring forth bodhicitta, which allows me to then enter the door to the path of Mahayana practice.
shonju se to tempo jile ba yin so yu koro sa di ba yu koro ge shu ta tu pe de kanga pa ta shu chiri chiri do kanga koro jabonda wo de
So think this mind of bodhicitta is so supremely powerful. When I bring forth bodhicitta, it is powerful enough to purify all of the unwholesome negativities accumulated. It is powerful enough to allow me to bring forth all of the qualities necessary for the accumulation of merit. It is the mind from which all realization follows. Therefore, bodhicitta is like the supreme amongst positive mental qualities.
ta zo de go tongbo ka sa de ka re se na ro so so ya bo ma yo de o ta ni ri cha do shu ri ge ta se ti kanga ka de ya zo re du so ma ji ta de ka ze ta ba me wa so.
So then, what is preventing me from bringing this mind forth, right? What is the block that is there to the arising of bodhicitta? It is this prejudiced attitude of holding some close and others distant. So let me identify my attitudes which hold some close and hold others with aversion far away, and as much as possible seek to diminish and eliminate that. So think we bring forth this mind of equanimity, which is able to purify attitudes that hold some close and others distant. This prepares the ground or the foundation. You can think that this mind of equanimity, one of its benefits is that it is said to be the supreme mind of generosity, because equanimity is a form of generosity which protects beings from fear. So we can think that all of the problems in the world, illnesses, wars, especially wars and conflicts, these arise from minds of attachment and aversion, holding some close and others distant. Therefore, bringing forth equanimity has the power to clear those away. So we can pause there. So of course this is the preliminary mind, right, for the 7-point cause and effect instruction to arise bodhicitta, and that is the mind of equanimity. And if we really try to develop it, we see that equanimity is not something that is so easy, because these attitudes of holding some close and holding others at a distance are so ingrained actually. And if we are able to arise this mind, though, not only is it beneficial to us, we'll see our relationships with those beings who we are encountering, those beings around us, even animals and so forth. This is something that will really improve.
다 릴라고도 이거 말어봐. 류도 리빠도 제세 뭐 돈이 다 소로 소소 제고 주고 돈이 다 뭐 스크라만 칸이셔야 될라고 그래요.
So just saying equanimity from our mouths is something that is very easy, right? But to really become convinced of its value, we have to investigate the scriptures and reasonings behind it. To really bring it forth in our mind, we really have to engage in both a placement and analytical meditation upon it.
다 디가 세대 버게년이 차도시라 매바 사슈 제고 매바 데즈 차소나 다 디인데 사회 야쇼 드네 전에 마타와 파타와 녀도다와 다 녀야쇼 버게 사회도 다 그래요.
So we think that we've prepared the field of our mind with this attitude of equanimity, and now we want to plant the first seed. And the first seed is to try to have a vision of every sentient being as kind to us as our mother, but whoever is kindest to you in this, who has been kindest to you in this life. So your mother or your father or the person closest to you, every sentient being is the same as them.
다 된다 소소가 제와 최쇼 다 최쇼 제야가 다 전디그와 다 던디질 빼자냐라 다 던디가 다 세사회야 보데 다 고주고 나레스.
So we start planting this seed by bringing forth this vision of trying to embrace all as being just as kind as that person who has showed us the most care, the most compassion, the most benefit in our life.
어떤 게 뭘로 가르쳐 말해. 세나 빼는 가로서 아니 신체레레 가로서 다 파마존이라 내가 제자야 돼. 단 좀벌리게 사용조 진안데 도도 다 빼잖아 그래. 중간자바 이나요. 단나 중간자 타야지 아마. 든지지 소소니에서 사와.
So there's a verse from
야쇼 돼.
so Geshe said one of the best examples to think about this. So one of the best examples to think about this comes from the protector Nagarjuna. And so Nagarjuna stated that, even if we were to take, it might be a pebble, but Geshe said you could also think of the bead of a mala. And if you were to cover every single sort of surface of the earth, if you were to cover every single surface of the earth with that pebble, it would not equal the fathers and mothers that we have had. Just give me one moment. I'm just going to adjust something here. So that would not be able to equal the number of fathers and mothers that we have had. So definitely there are many reasons that we could think of, right? But this is one of the main reasons that was shared by Nagarjuna. So this is why the first point in the 7-point cause and effect instruction is to see all of those sentient beings as our mother. So after we've really brought forth a feeling for seeing them as all our mother or the closest person to us, then we have to remember their kindness. Part 2 is remembering their kindness. And actually, one of Geshe-la's favorites for thinking about this is also another verse from the protector Nagarjuna, which says that if we were to collect the milk of every sentient being that has been our mother from countless previous rebirths, that volume of milk would exceed the volume of the great oceans of this world. So if every single one has been that kind to us, then they are that close to us. Then what need is there to say how precious each sentient being is?
Yes.
And so then after recollecting the kindness, the next stage in the 7 points is repaying the kindness, wishing to repay the kindness.
다 샤와 자조 두조 저조 몸볼 든리가 다 치를 봐 로바 든리서 차와지래 대주 주도 치는 마치 봐요 소소 찌보야 고알에 타와 능알에 타와 내가 잖아
So we can ask ourselves a question: if hundreds and thousands of lifetimes and hundreds and thousands of beings have shown us that type of kindness, then seeking our own liberation, our own moksha, our own happiness, and setting those sentient beings aside so we can pursue that, is that something that is suitable or not?
빼나가서 너무 찌바이 바지 어느 너무 강가하게 강연을 수이돼요 소설 니치 로바서 토야 고가 강가 요하나 데로바 마치 소설 찌바 타야 돼서는 좀 벌레비 뭐 가르라 그래.
So think about if your family were to fall on hard times and in a terrible situation, and you kind of fixed the situation for yourself, but left behind your family to suffer. How would you be seen by most people in civil society? How would you be thought of as a person? So just remembering those in a stable way, we can meditate on those first points of the 7-point cause and effect. Remember, the first one is flexible. See them all as our mother, but it could also be your father or whichever person has shown you the greatest kindness or benefited you the most. So not just holding them close and thinking of that person who was most kind to us, but really specifically remembering their kindness, remembering all of the things they did, sacrifices that they made to benefit us. So having achieved this supreme body and mind of this type of rebirth, then it's definitely not okay to remain complacent and not do anything for their benefit. I must repay their benefit, their kindness. So thinking for my wish to repay their kindness and be able to actualize that, the thing that is blocking that the most is the self-cherishing or self-centered attitude. I must understand the faults of that self-centered attitude and diminish it so that I can bring forth a mind that truly cherishes others. This self-cherishing or self-centered attitude causes me to be narrow-minded, causes me to be limited, causes my vision to be small. So many problems and difficulties that I encounter are because of this self-centered attitude.
Geshe Chunjuni, the Kanga Pugate community, Ye Jinsi, see one of
The cause of even the smallest happiness that I experience. All of this is connected to others. So bring forth a mind which cherishes others.
Digita Nimbon of Shambachi, Niji also, or that is at Ishuria, said Dembondo Tamita.
Using this attitude which cherishes others as the basis, bring forth the mind of great love, wishing beings happiness, the mind of great compassion, wishing them freedom from suffering, the mind of the supreme altruistic intention, taking responsibility to achieve that for them.
Tashima, Yedu Tashima, that built a shamba, you Zawaji, you say these, that they didn't let them Machata, Tamadutari, Demos.
To achieve my own supreme welfare, to be able to achieve the welfare of others, there is no means to do this other than bringing forth bodhicitta, grounded in the minds of love and compassion. I must bring this forth.
That really should just be done. No matter what you let it out,
in order to accomplish this, I will, as perfectly as I can manage, receive the Bodhisattva vows today, and having received them, protect them as much as I can from degeneration. So we will pause there. And so Geshe said, normally, actually, we could take a lot more time to reflect on all of those, but as we're limited, we are going to go to the ceremony. So Geshe said that, on the basis of as much as possible, when you have time, learning and meditating on the 7-point cause and effect instruction, learning the instruction about equalizing and exchanging self and others. This is really going to enrich your practice of the Bodhisattva vows. And so there's different methods also you can read in the different scriptures. Yeah? What's the problem?
Can I intervene? For the vows themselves, can you move Geshe-la's mic closer? Because musician sounds is making him a bit quiet.
Yeah, so here's a question. Should I turn musician sounds off, or is that going to be a problem as well? Because the way they're chanted is a little bit, you know what I mean?
This is why I'm asking to move
to close.
Mic closer.
Microphone Tanya Posharo Chesa.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so in the future, of course, we can learn more about that. So I want to see if there's something I can do to improve the sound. Just a moment. Maybe I'll say this.
Yes, you could say we should always do our sound checks with musician sound off. That would be a good thing to do.
I'm just going to turn some of the gain on, Dave, so hopefully
sure.
that'll help.
Yep. Thank you. Sorry for the interruption.
No worries. Those again.
Oh yeah, that's when you should do it.
So tomorrow, of course, is the Jainang, the Medicine Buddha initiation, which is a practice of Mahayana Tantra. So we should understand that the root of all Mahayana practice is bodhicitta and the Bodhisattva vows. So then Geshe said that what we're going to do is we're going to use the verses from the Bodhisattva Charyavatara, as I mentioned, from that chapter, verses 22 through 23 through 27 to receive the vows today. So you'll repeat after Geshe in Tibetan, but don't worry, I will read the English of the vow before each section so that you know what you're saying. So Geshe said that he's kind of the representative in terms of the vow preceptor, but ideally, actually, what you're thinking is that he is speaking with the voice of all of the Buddhas. They're sort of speaking through him. If you can think in this way, there's reason. Right. So actually, when you sort of renew the Bodhisattva vows by doing this ceremony on your own at home, this will really help you, because what you imagine is that you hear the verse from all of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas reciting it together, and then you repeat that verse after them. This is the way to renew those vows. Ale. Ti ganso chunche chogeri las ta go ton sana. Yeah, los.
Tenda kar shuji jawa si to chi ba tringala se tenil tani yuruchi se yares.
Ya poco más.
Se shiwas shuji jawa si to chi ba yaras kanga ngala gumba yuruchi so turuchi.
So the first part, Geshe is going to recite Lama, Buddhas, and Bodhisattvas, please listen to me. So this is a request. You can, and when you do it on your own, you can imagine that this is a request to all of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to heed you. Today I'm going to do a very special activity different than usual. I am going to make an important promise. Just as those previous beings who are Buddhas and Bodhisattvas now made this commitment, I will make the commitment of bodhicitta and the Bodhisattva vows. And so that is the promise, with you as witnesses, this is the promise that I am going to make. And think I am receiving this not just for myself, not just for a small number of others close to me, but for the sake of every single one of all 6 types of sentient beings in samsara. So then Geshe, what Geshe repeat after him. So the first verse you're going to repeat after Geshe. In English, it says, just as the previous Sugatas gave birth to an awakening mind, and just as they successfully dwelt in the Bodhisattva practices. So that's the first verse.
Lama Jawa,
Siche Nam,
Dala Gomba, Zedu
Sol,
Chita Ngenjo, Deshe
Gi,
Shochu Tuna,
Jangshu Tuna,
Shepa Dong, Shochu Sembe, Laba La, Teda
Rimji,
Nepa Tar, Dajong Rola, Pendun Du,
Jangshu Sena, Shepa Ji. So then we also are reciting after that the verse that goes, likewise, for the sake of all that lives, do I give birth to an awakening mind, and likewise shall I too successfully follow the practices. Nipa di younger, Dejin Drola, younger Sumtam. Dejin Drola, Pendun Du, Jangshu Sena, Chechi Jin, Laba La, Rimpa Jindu, Laba Ji. So in this first sort of recitation, this is talking about the practices of the bodhisattvas and understanding that we cannot take all of them right away. This is what this word successively or in stages means. We are going to approach training them in stages. So please repeat for the second time after Geshe. So it's the request to the master, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to heed you, and then this verse.
Lama Jawa, Seche
Nam,
Dala
Gomba,
Zedu
Sol,
Chita Ngenjo,
Jitar Ngungi,
Deshe Ji,
Shonchu Tuna,
Sheba
Tong,
Jangshu Sembe,
Laba La,
Deda
Rinji,
Nipa
Tar,
Dajun
Rola, Pendundu,
Jangshu
Sena,
Xie
Jing,
Jangshu Sembe,
Laba La,
Rimba
Shindu,
Laba
Jo.
Oh, ta le ni ba so ni le sbe ta le ta ha ngma domba yo ni ta nyo yo na ma nyo ba ta yo po cha so ba ka chen bo.
So then that is the second recitation. Then the third recitation, younger Injilagian. So I'll give these verses one more time. Just as the previous Sugatas gave birth to an awakening mind, and just as they successfully dwelt in the Bodhisattva practices, likewise, for the sake of all that lives, do I give birth to an awakening mind, and likewise shall I too successfully follow the practices. So after this third recitation, if you have not received these before, think you have newly received them. If you have received them and they have been degenerated, think that they are restored. So if this is your first time receiving them, if you haven't received them before, it's really important to think that I have received these perfectly and completely within my mind. So of course, if we are able to receive and guard these bodhisattva vows well, from lifetime to lifetime we go from every happiness to happiness until Buddhahood. If we receive these and we do not take the means to protect or restore them, then it can create great difficulty. So thinking this in your mind, we will do the third and final recitation.
Lama Jawa,
Seche Nam, Dala Gomba, Zedu Sol, Jitar Ngungi, Deshe Ji, Jangshu Tuna, Sheba Dong, Jangshu Sembe, Laba La, Deda Rimji, Nipa Tar, Dajun Rola, Pendundu, Jangshu Sena, Xie Jing, Jangshu Sembe, Laba La, Rimba Jindu, Laba Jo. So think through the power of bringing forth these bodhisattva vows, this promise in my mind, all of the negativities, obscurations accumulated from countless lifetimes in samsara until now are completely cleared away, as well as the imprints or latencies left behind, just like a sudden warm rain completely melts the snow. And really to have this conviction that even sort of the negativity that I regret most in this life, the heaviest negative thing that I have done, even that can be purified or cleared away. The power of these bodhisattva vows is such as that if I guard them without degenerating, then while sleeping, walking, standing, any course of activities during the day, a constant virtue is accumulated, like a constant rain of merit from the sky. I have received the foundation of being able to perfectly accomplish all of the activities that I wish, being able to reach all of my aspirations for happiness and so forth. Having found this supreme source of success, I shall always guard it. And so then after this we've done the verse for receiving the vows. So there's a couple of follow-up verses that you'll repeat after Geshe. Yeah, so we just need to repeat those ones one each time. Yeah, so I'll just so I'll read out the two verses that we'll repeat after Geshe. It means, in order to increase it from now on, those with discernment who have lucidly seized an awakening mind in this way should highly praise it in the following manner. Today my life has borne fruit, well obtained this human existence. I've been born in the family of Buddha and now am one of Buddha's children. Thus whatever actions I do from now must be in accord with this family. Never shall I disgrace or pollute this noble lineage.
Dedu datsu,
Jibuye,
mi sepa,
Lepa to, Tering Sangye, Rizuche, Sanje Sesu, Tajo to. So we think that really I am abiding in the Buddha's lineage because I have truly been able to bring forth bodhicitta. At least we imagine that we have. Tani dagi, chine kyang, ridang tumpe, le tsam te, cheme simpe, ridi la, nyomba majur, tetar ja. So I won't engage so much with all those different types of meaningful activities. With mindfulness and conscientiousness, I will engage in the activities of the bodhisattvas, of the bodhisattva path. I've been able to activate the potential of my human brain, the potential of the human intelligence. I have been able to, younger Sundar? And through this, I have received really the practice that is going to allow me to achieve every happiness. And so that concludes the ceremony. So with a mind lifted up in joy, let us dedicate the merits. So we'll go to the dedication of the merit. We'll first do a very short mandala offering of thanksgiving. So that's 27. Saji peki choshi meto chan rirab linshi nidi genpa di sangi shinto mide boba gi jogo nanda jinla jeba sho itam guru ratna mendala kam niriyatayami. 29. Tongni tawa rinpoche, maje panam chejochi, jewan yamba mepa yang, gone gondu pewa sho. Tongni tawa rinpoche, maje panam chejochi, jewan yamba mepa yang, gone gondu pewa sho. 37. Jambe bao jidar gyamba dang, kundu zambo deyon dejin de da kungi jesu dalo jir gewa dida tamshe rabdu ngo tusu shebe gyawa tamshe gi ngowa gangla chodu ngaba de dagi gewe tsawa dikun kyang zambo choji rabdu ngowa gi gangri rawe kowe shinkam di pendan dewa malu jungwe ne chenre ziwan tenzin jatso yi shabe site badu tenjo chi.
Decent soba ji在你把那店里，刚刚如说说嘛，农业他不给，也得他什么找他呀，也用做了这些个你马上他呀，他就能找我去。
So through the merits that I, myself, and all others participating today have accumulated through the power of these merits, may we really be able to achieve the welfare, the benefit of others. May we cause the sun of happiness to shine equally on all sentient beings.
ね、可愛いな、理事官に、戦時官に、たぶん、だから、カデュパシャとやたぶん、やるのかと。
Any place in this vast world where beings are experiencing mental unhappiness, where they are experiencing physical discomfort, through this merit, may that be completely cleared away. So thank you very much, everybody. That includes our activity today. We usually do have question and answer, but during the vow ceremonies and initiations, kind of to have the mood of transmission, that's not a part of things, but do join us if you are able tomorrow for the Medicine Buddha initiation. And keep in mind, the time is different. It starts at noon Eastern time rather than 10 Eastern time. Thank you so much, everybody. Thanks so much, everybody. Take care.
Is it what?
Oh,